Anybody else tired? Yeah, I'm tired. Are you tired? We're all tired.
Science. Technology. Medicine. Health. These four things make the world go round. Without them, we couldn't exist. This is the Monday Science Podcast, a weekly show bringing you the latest research and news in science, technology, medicine, and health, answering your questions or finding experts in the field to answer them. Your host is a pharmacist, an award-winning scientist. She leads her own research group and is the founder of King's College London Fight the Fakes. A tad bit on the qualified side. Welcome to Monday Science. Here's your host, Dr. Bahija Raimi-Abraham.
Hello. I'm going to say happy Monday because it is my hope that this episode will still be released, even if it's like 11:59 on the 7th of March. We joke, unless it will be Tuesday Science. Yeah, I'm glad I laugh at my own jokes. Firstly, apologies. Usually I try and make sure that episodes are released 7 a.m. GMT time, but it's been a bit chaotic and a bit hectic in a good way. And so I only got to record the episode quite late. And yeah, so apologies. But as I said, this will be out just before midnight. Great. How is everyone? I hope you're all okay. I hope your week has started off well, or your day, your minute, your hour, regardless of whatever day you do listen to this episode. So what have I been up to? Yes, the intro clip, the short clip. That was something I posted on Instagram. It was last day of term and I took to Instagram to offload. Don't know if that's healthy, but yeah, here we are. Feel free to follow me on Instagram at Dr. Bahija Raimi-A. That's the tag? Oh my gosh, I'm sounding like I'm 1,000 years old. That's I can't think of the word. That's my thing for all my social media. Mainly on my Instagram, and I sometimes add the clips onto TikTok, but I'm trying to give a realistic insight into my experience. And I'm not always tired, FYI, but on that day, because I have a lot of people who are like, when, I don't know, it's a holiday or summer holidays, people still feel that academics have this like long summer off. And when Christmas comes, yay, that's it. You have time off and you can go to bed and do all the things that normal people do. And the reality is that's not the case. Most of the time when the term ends, that's when you try and quickly cram in as much research time as you can before just whatever last bit of energy you have to try and get your papers in or write a grant. I don't know. If only one could write a grant in a day. But the day when I made that recording, I don't know, I was super tired. I was probably burnt out. I think I was burnt out. And I just had a moment where I was like, is anybody else tired? Which I've used as the title of today's episode. However, today's episode is going to be an update on my research group, the Raimi-Abraham group. I realize I talk a lot about my group in conversations when I've had guests. I talk loosely about the work that we do, but I don't really talk about my research. And I haven't to date used Monday Science as a platform to share some of the work that we're doing. So I thought I will try and get into a habit of dedicating like an episode to just give you guys an update and bring you into my journey, or our journey of discovery and what we're trying to, and in a way also keep me accountable, because I feel like I'm probably a bit more comfortable talking about other people's work and other people's achievements as opposed to talking enough and giving my own research group its own platform. So don't worry, this isn't now going to be Monday Science, the Raimi-Abraham group podcast. Going back to the intro, the reason why I chose to add a clip in was a reminder, because I've been feeling like that recently, where I've just been feeling so tired. There's so much that I'd love to do with the podcast, with my research group, and showcase a lot more behind the scenes. But I feel that a lot of the time when we talk about science, you see the final product, but you don't see the behind the scenes stuff. That is something that I've tried to showcase via our social media. And even, as I said, myself, I'm trying to be a bit more consistent with social media and posting and things like that. So yeah. Anyways, before I go into the updates from the Raimi-Abraham group. I wanted to say I have started watching this series called The Dropout on Disney Plus. I don't know if you guys started watching it. It is amazing. It's so interesting. So The Dropout is a series, I believe it's like a limited series that details the rise and fall of a company. It was a health company that was called Theranos. And it's very interesting. It's the series on Disney Plus is an adaptation of somebody called Rebecca Jarvis and ABC Audio's podcast of the same name. So Theranos was an American company. So I will just say, sorry, before I go into this, I didn't know anything about this story of Theranos. I don't know how this missed me, but Theranos, American privately held company, and it was thought to be like a breakthrough health tech company. It was founded in 2003, and the company claimed that it could devise blood tests that only required a small amount of blood, and you could get readings for somebody's blood that could give you insight to a whole range of diagnoses and treatments. Now, it's interesting because hearing about Theranos, and even just the name, you can already kind of guess Theranos, something therapeutic, Nos something diagnostic. Hearing the concept, I was like, well, that sounds doable. That sounds pretty amazing and fine. But it turns out that the founder, as I said, mentioned, it was founded in 2003, and the founder was a 19-year-old. I don't think it matters how old she was, but whichever way, there is a significance that she was 19. She'd dropped out of Stanford. The person was called Elizabeth Holmes. This limited series delves into it. Now, you all know I love films, and I love anything science related. And so what I thought is I'd like to dedicate a couple of episodes towards the end of the month, giving an overview of Theranos, So I've started watching, I think the first 3 or 4 episodes are already out on Disney Plus. It came out last week, Thursday. So they're out each new episode every Thursday. And I believe the first 3 episodes came out last week, Thursday. So I've watched those 3. I watched them on the plane. I'll give you some more insight there. And then the next episodes obviously will be out every Thursday on Disney Plus. And there are 6 episodes in total. So I'm thinking what I'd like to propose, if you care to join me, on the 21st of March, I will discuss episodes 1 to 5. And then on the 28th of March, I discussed episode 6. So there will be spoilers, because I will hope that you will have, this is not homework, by the way. Gosh, I'm sounding like I'm giving everyone homework. No. So 21st of March, we'll discuss episode 1 to 5, and then 28th of March, we'll discuss episode 6. Please join, even if you don't watch it, but you're okay for spoilers. Just listen in anyway. I promise that the episodes will be on time. See how I joke again? Okay. But I just thought it would be quite cool to watch, as I do enjoy giving a review on science or academia related films and series, or Marvel comics, anything Marvel, or Marvel and DC, because I did do a review on Suicide Squad. So yeah, I hope you guys join me. Let's see how the series pans out, but it's got good reviews. As I said, the first 3 episodes I watched, I really enjoyed it. Fascinating. I want to delve in. I can't wait to be able to discuss it with you all. So yes, so that's just a bit of a heads up. Now, so let me talk about my research group, the Raimi-Abraham group. You will notice that the name is just my surname. I know some people have the name of their research group as the, nanotech group or something. So I felt that I wanted to just have my research group, the Raimi-Abraham group. So for those who don't know, I'm a pharmacist originally. My first degree studied pharmacy, and then I went on to do a PhD in pharmaceutics. And pharmaceutics is essentially means the science of dosage form design. My PhD was looking at the design and development of protective carrier systems for plasmid DNA. My PhD was heavy on the formulation, but also equally heavy on the material science characterization side of things. And I started my postdoctoral researcher position at UCL, University College London, and this was in collaboration with the School of Pharmacy and Mechanical Engineering. And it was a very interesting experience, because up until that point, I had only ever been in a pharmacy, a school of pharmacy, and more specifically in a pharmaceutics department. My postdoc was working with a group in mechanical engineering. They developed a nanofabrication device called the pressurized gyration. And my task was to explore the pharmaceutical potential from the system. And at the time, there was an interest in developing nanofibers as drug delivery systems and looking at the application in general of nanofibers and nanofabrication in the pharmaceutical industry. I was trying to see what's the potential. So it's all very exciting. It was very challenging because it opened my eyes to a whole different world. I learned new techniques. And as I'm saying it now, obviously with the PhD, I learned new techniques there, right? So I don't know why, for some reason, learning new techniques during my postdoc was very overwhelming, but fun at the same time. I really enjoyed the science, just learning new skills from there. But for me, something that was missing was the connection with the patient. Whilst, yes, I did enjoy learning about the world of nanofabrication, trying to understand how you can use this technology and how it would be able to help its place in pharma. That was very interesting for me. But I just missed patient. Like, I just felt there wasn't the focus, in my opinion, the focus wasn't patient. It was more the application of the instrument and the potential of the instrument and the potential of its products in a pharmaceutical context. And so after my post, I would say during my postdoc, so sorry, for those who don't know, postdoctoral research positions, fixed term contracts. So some people do 6-month postdoc, 1 year, 2 years. So my first one was 1 year. And then in that first year, I got a grant that then funded me for another 2 years. So, and then with my first postdoc, I got an extension because I applied for some funding. What did they call it? Oh, I've forgotten the name of the type of funding it was, but it was like a crossover funding where you would get, I think I got funding for 3 months to extend my contract 3 months. When I started the new postdoc, I got it into my head that, okay, I will have to find a way to fund myself, because at least if I have a way to get extra funding to tie me over my contract to whatever I decide to do next, then at least I will be able to just have a salary and earn. So halfway through my postdoc, and as I mentioned, I had this sort of, okay, this is interesting, the work I'm doing is interesting, and I'm enjoying that side of things, the science side of things and new techniques. And so I then tried to think, okay, what is the missing gap for me right now? I was thinking, what is missing in my knowledge gap? And I realized that the regulatory environment was something that I didn't know enough about, and it felt as if the regulatory setting and regulation was the gateway between whatever product you have or whatever technology you develop in the lab. Before it can reach the patient, it has to go through the regulatory space. And so I applied for some funding. It was a secondment funding that UCL had, public policy secondment. And I applied to go on secondment to the European Medicines Agency. And I was lucky that I got that funding. And that was to fund a secondment that was initially for 3 months, and then I got an extension for 6 months. The EMA, the European Medicines Agency at the time, because this was before Brexit, it was the agency of the European Union that was in charge of the evaluation and supervision of medicinal products at the time. In a way, the EMA is similar to how the FDA is in America, where you've got a centralized body for medicine authorization in Europe. So for example, a company could say, oh, we want to have a drug that is marketed in UK and France, and then they could just go straight to the EMA. At the time, before Brexit, you could go straight to the EMA and say, we're going to submit our documents, and then you can go through it, and that drug will be, through just this centralized process, would be authorized in the UK and in France. But so each country has I'm not going to go into too much detail, but each country has their own regulatory body. So in the UK, we have the MHRA. MHRA is Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, and that's the regulatory agency for the UK. And so as I mentioned, each country has their own thing. Okay, I've lost track. Where was I? So I went on secondment to the European Medicines Agency, and I was sitting within a department called Scientific Advice. And so I was there for 6 months, and it was really good because I got to see and understand the global... Okay, I may have talked about this before, that one of the things I love about science and what I love about academia for me is like the global element. So the fact that I could collaborate with somebody in another part of the world, and that can connect us. Like, even when I go on holidays, but I'm now trying to set some boundaries with that, because it's so easy to go on holiday and be like, oh, well, I'll just reach out to, I don't know, a department or academic in the area, and maybe I could give a talk, or I can just see their labs, or we could collaborate, or just even have a discussion about science. Like, that's something I really enjoy. But one has to start setting boundaries, because sometimes you just need a holiday. Sometimes you just need a break. So anyway, yeah, so was at the EMA for 6 months in total. That gave me insight into global health and global health challenges. And prior to, just before the EMA secondment, I'd started to work with a colleague who was specializing in aging and a development of what we call age appropriate dosage forms. I had decided that I wanted to apply for a lectureship. I had been offered a lectureship that was outside of London. I unfortunately had to turn down that lectureship. And so I had a moment where I had no understanding of what my future held. It's a very scary time. I turned down the lectureship a month before I was meant to seek extra funding for my secondment to extend, which was interesting. Whilst all of that was going on, it made me a lot more passionate about, if I'm going to start my research group, if I'm going to be in academia, I have to make sure that I'm doing something that I believe in. I'm creating a system, I'm creating a group that will be working towards global health challenges that I not only am passionate about, I believe in, but I believe that I have the ability to make a difference in that space. And so the Raimi-Abraham started, well, I was going to say in February 1st, 2017, because that was my first official day of my lectureship. However, I'd like to think that the Raimi-Abraham group started from maybe after I completed my PhD. But anyway, let's see. So officially the Raimi-Abraham group started on the 1st of February 2017 with a total number of group members n equals 1, aka myself, and I. Over the years, the group has grown. I've had several PhD students, all in various different stages in their PhD, and I've also had masters, MRes, undergraduate project students, and it's been a journey over the last 5+ years. Oh my gosh, that sounds weird saying it, but yeah, it's been a journey over the 5+ years, and I've learned a lot. And this is why I wish I had more hours in the day and I could survive on like 2 hours sleep consistently, because there's just so much insight that I've gained from being a PI and things that I've learned from, PI, principal investigator, so group leader. But there are things that I have put and systems that I've put in place in my group because of my postdoc experience. And I think anybody who may be listening who is a postdoc know that every experience that you have, postdoc, PhD, masters, undergrad, high school, whatever it is, I do think that it's very important to reflect on your experiences, identify experiences that you've enjoyed and you don't mind carrying that forward in your management style or whatever, and then experiences that you've not enjoyed and that make a conscious decision to not pass that forward. I will talk now about what we're currently doing in the group. For me, over the last 5 years in particular, it's been a journey, and I needed the space to discover my niche and discover my passion as one was going through and understand where I can make a difference. Because there's one thing about being passionate that is very important, and I'm a strong advocate for that. But as we've seen in the last couple of years of the pandemic, you can be passionate and researching a topic. This might be a bit of a controversial thing to say, but you can be passionate about researching a topic, but does that passion equate to, can you get grant funding for it? Because you do need to make sure that you can fund your research as well. And I'm not trying to say that should be the motivation for your research, like, oh, this is going to get funded. But you do have to think that you do need to get funding for your research. So how do you then look at your idea and see the niche and how you can make a difference? So I use the pandemic, as I've even commented on this in early Monday Science episodes, where people had been researching pandemic for years. I remember reading a paper about a pediatric intensive care work plan or something, or work structure during pandemics, what they predicted would happen. People have been studying the psychological aspects, what happens if there was a pandemic. Pandemic research had been ongoing prior to 2020. But because it seemed so far-fetched and I'm making a bit of a blanket statement there, but people, let's say, didn't feel that it would it could be possible, then pandemic research wasn't funded as much as it should have been, but here we are. Anyway, there's lots of things that I would like to delve into from the developing the research group end, but if you do have specific questions that could maybe help guide me to make sure that I'm not just waffling on like I am now, trying to make sure I get this episode out before midnight, but it's not going to be out before midnight. I can see that not happening. Anyway, apologies again. But yeah, if you do have any questions about setting up a research group and things that you'd like me to answer in this topic, please do let me know, because I have a list of questions that I've been asked over the years, and I'm putting that together to try and create some videos and episodes around that. But any ideas, send to info@mondaysciencepodcast.com. My research is focused on solving pharmaceutical challenges in infectious diseases with a focus on malaria and latent asymptomatic infections. That's a bit of a mouthful. If something is latent, it means that it's existing but it hasn't developed or manifested, a hidden or concealed infection. And asymptomatic is something that we've heard a lot of now, essentially where you have an infection, the person isn't producing or showing any symptoms. So those are my areas of interest. So first big area is pharmaceutical materials and innovative manufacture to engineer the next generation of in vitro and 3D infection models, and I'm using synthetic nanobiomimetic scaffolds. That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? So essentially, in research objective, the aim is to take the knowledge and expertise that I have in making nanofibers in general and making what we call biomimetics, mimicking biochemical processes, mimicking natural processes. This work and the work in this research objective, we aim to develop 3D cell culture, use 3D cell culture, and to create these infectious disease models which can be used for drug discovery, screening, to help develop new and improved therapies and diagnostic. The second area is looking at nano-facilitated strategies in infection detection and treatment using plant-mediated green synthesis of metallodrugs. So a metallodrug is a pharmaceutical drug that contains a metal as an active ingredient. And the aim is that we synthesize these metallodrugs using sustainable that have what we call theranostic potential. Now you can see why I was interested in Theranos. So theranostic potential, where it's got which for simultaneous detection and treatment of latent and asymptomatic infections. Then lastly, the last output, the last activity is taking an advocacy and awareness as well as stakeholder engagement approach to understand and explore the global impact of fake medicine, so substandard and falsified, which is referred to sometimes as fake medicines, of global impact, specifically substandard and falsified anti-infectives, so things like antibiotics, antimalarials. And I do this as part of King's College London Fight the Fakes, which I founded in March 2020, and then we became active April 2020. King's College London Fight the Fakes. We do have a monthly blog series and a seminar series where creating a platform for discussion about of fake medicines, and this is usually monthly on a Thursday, 2 till 3 GMT time. So that's the first bit of insight into my research group. What I'll do next month is talk to you about, we've had some interesting publications that have come out this year so far. And I think now that I've dedicated some time to talk about my research group, then hopefully moving forward when I'm sharing updates, there's this context. Again, apologies for the late episode. Please feel free to check out the Raimi-Abraham Group website, which is www.theraimi-abrahamgroup.com. You can subscribe. We haven't started newsletters yet, but we will be towards the middle of the year. So you can feel free to subscribe and follow us on our social media platforms to keep updated, and LinkedIn as well. This has been an enjoyable episode. If there's anything you'd like me to go into deeper, then feel free to either DM via social media, or the platforms, it's fine, or send an email to info@mondaysciencepodcast.com. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Monday Science Podcast, a weekly show bringing you the latest research and news in science, technology, medicine, and health. We hope you've gotten some useful and thought-provoking info from the show, and we hope you had fun along the way. We know we did. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on our website at www.mondaysciencepodcast.com. Shoot us an email at info@mondaysciencepodcast.com. Find us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube at Monday Science, and access episode summaries at mondayscience.medium.com. See you next week on the Monday Science Podcast.